I recently saw this clip where Millie Alcock, actress of Supergirl, said,
I don't know. I think that what makes this film so beautiful is that it's not centered around a man. It's not centered around love at all.
and that got me thinking, Supergirl is sort of being marketed towards women, right? So why is she saying no romance like that's a good thing? Women are the primary consumers of romance. And then I thought about it some more. No, wait, Supergirl isn't actually aimed at women, it's aimed at men. Most superhero movies are. Just look at the Marvels and Captain Marvel, for instance. Two-thirds male, one-third female. And so we reached the idea that I've settled on. Female superheroes are not created for women, even though they might be created by women. They are created for male executives who have a very limited understanding of both the female audience and what the quote-unquote female power fantasy looks like, aka the gender-specific version of the female power fantasy, rather than just a gender-bent version of the male power fantasy. And yet, despite this, according to this article from Deadline, Warner Brothers attempted to push Supergirl to the under 25 female demographic with multiple beauty store collabs and other related products. So clearly, they thought this movie would have some appeal to that audience, but having watched it, I can say this for certain. It is just a gender-bent version of any schlocky action movie, a female-led Fast and Furious. Of course, saying that as a man is a little bit hypocritical. Who am I to say what women want, right? Who made me the king of the women? So I asked my mom what she thought. She said that the trench coat on Supergirl looked pretty nice. Excellent point, and it gave me the idea to do a video on superhero outfits in the future, but it wasn't the particular kind of analysis that I was looking for at this juncture. So instead, I hit up my Vietnamese ex-wife on Discord, and, So basically, if I want to see my daughter again, you guys need to like, comment, and subscribe. So let's get into the various points on why female superheroes aren't actually for women, they're for men. Point 1. Genre. I think now is the best time to emphasize that none of what I'm saying is meant to be taken as saying that all women want this or that. The amount of women in the world is a lot, and the amount of opinions that they hold is also a lot. So I'm just speaking in very broad strokes. Also, despite what you may think, genres are not really as divided as they seem to be. Genres considered all-male like action are still enjoyed by 86% of women, and genres considered all-female like musicals are still enjoyed by 48% of men. By raw numbers, a film aimed squarely at women would have a mix of comedy, drama, and adventure. But if you wanted to aim specifically at women to the exclusion of men, it would be an animated musical romance. And by the way, this particular movie would still appeal to half of all men. It's not like it would exclude them. Now, Supergirl does not resemble either of these hypothetical movies. It is gritty, it's dark, it's action-packed. The villains are child traffickers and gangs, and they're pretty ugly too. Not just visually, but character-wise, they are one-dimensional caricatures. I'm not saying that there aren't women who like this, but if you replace Supergirl with anyone else, this just looks like a superpowered version of Sound of Freedom. It's the kind of premise you would see your 60 to 70-year-old relatives watching on Amazon Prime, starring some buff white guy. The superhero genre is already an amalgamation of genres which are either male-leaning or gender-neutral. If one were to try to make one aimed at women, the obvious choices would be to increase either the personal drama or the romance. In other words, pretty much the exact opposite of what they're currently doing here. I actually decided to watch The Marvels, which I had doggedly avoided, and around 30 minutes in, I came to a stunning realization. This is the kind of movie I would have liked if it wasn't terrible. It has cool fight scenes, big explosions, and when I think about the way that I react to shoujo manga, that's an issue. Oftentimes, even if I like it, I still find portions of it uncomfortable to read, the same way that I imagine women find super male-oriented works uncomfortable to read. And look, I'm not saying that I wanted to feel uncomfortable from the radiating femininity of the Supergirl movie, but I think that if you're going to aim at the female audience directly, you shouldn't be afraid to alienate a few men. You're going to alienate them anyways by having a female protagonist. My Adventures with Superman is proof that men will be seated for a cutesy Supergirl's romantic comedy shenanigans. For instance, I'm seated, and you should all watch season 3 if you haven't already, so that yes we, can pummel Jimmy Olsen together for fumbling the better Supergirl. I might do a video on my Adventures with Superman at some point, actually. Point 2, character design. One of the most under-discussed things about female superheroes is that the designs really don't appeal to anyone. No one. Women don't want to look like this, and men don't find this particularly attractive. There is no appeal at all in this kind of costume. Now, that's not to say that skimpier clothing would look better, but accessories, maybe. Something that looks cute or pretty is the number one thing that my friends said would improve these designs when I asked them what would make it better. Supergirl does have accessories. She's not just wearing the generic superhero outfit, but they aren't cute accessories. The trench coat, the sunglasses, they're cool, not pretty. Supergirl herself is pretty, but her outfit is closer to badass. But some girls want to be badass too. Girls can be cool. Why are you saying that they should be cute? Of course this is the case, and I know women who are into cool stuff more than cute stuff. I'm not denying their existence. In fact, I platformed them in this video, but I'm pointing out that, for the most part, they aren't the majority of women. A lot of women do like the idea of having superpowers and beating up monsters or other enemies, but they want to do it looking girly pop, not drunk uncle. Funnily enough, I found a post on Reddit from a 26-year-old woman which says pretty much the same stuff as me, and also some other stuff that I didn't consider. I'll go over some of the other points later, but the one pertinent to this segment is that she mentions that women love iconic outfits, and that there is a whole genre of pop out there for the girlies that they could have pulled from for the needle drops. Point 3. Female empowerment. This brings me to my third point. What exactly is the female power fantasy? For men, it's pretty obvious. It's going around with the power of an unstoppable god, pure confidence that we can beat anyone, and a steady supply of people who are giving us a really good reason to. That's why stuff like Punisher and Batman are so popular. The idea that we can wield violence as a tool and embrace brutality to make the world a better place. Even Superman has this aspect, although he's only allowed to do it against bigger threats like aliens or robots. What we see from Supergirl is pretty much exactly this. It's a story about revenge, a story about using strength to take down the bad guys, fighting through the pain and the struggles until the deed is done. I'm not saying that this is a male-centered theme, but in conjunction with the crime stuff and the other generic action movie bits, it does read as pretty masculine. I wouldn't be surprised if this was due to executive meddling or maybe just the director not getting it. So what do women want? Obviously, it can't be answered in a single question. It's like asking what the male self-insert fantasy is. Some will answer they'd like to be transported to a fantastical world where they're the strongest. Others will say they'll want to go after the gangs and the cartels in a righteous crusade on crime. Others will say something else entirely. For women, plenty of them want to be swept off their feet. Others want to do the sweeping. Some of them really do find this pure violence approach attractive, but others want to look good doing it, and others have the super part being subordinate to the looking good part. And look, before you get all pissy, I'd just like you to know, this isn't my biggest critique of the movie. I wasn't sitting there in the theater going, this is a good movie, but how does it fit into intersectional feminism? I was sitting there going, oh, this is sorta cool, and those VFXs look a little rough. Normal stuff, but everyone else will already tell you that, and they probably already did, and I respect your time too much to tell you something that you already know. It can't be considered any clearer than this. The movie doesn't appeal to men, it doesn't appeal to women. Yes, it's not particularly well written, but that's not really a motivating factor in how well it's done. This movie did worse on opening weekend than Morbius, for Christ's sake. It got more. Do you know how badly the general audience has to reject your movie to get more? Anyways, that brings me back to the Reddit post from the 26-year-old woman on the box office subreddit. She pointed out things I never even thought of, like the fact that they only did a collab with Ulta Beauty instead of reaching out to more feminine brands, the needle drops failing to strike a chord because they weren't from songs that were aimed at the type of woman that Supergirl wanted to appeal to, the fact that the movie itself basically didn't have an attractive male co-lead at all. When you look at movies that succeeded among women, like Barbie and Wicked, you have like Ken and Prince Fiero as the male eye candy for women, the same way Black Widow is the eye candy of the Avengers, pretty much. I'm not saying that making all of these fixes would have actually ensured Supergirl's success. To be quite frank, looking back with the benefit of hindsight, the movie was completely fucked from the get-go. We already had Superman 1 year ago, Supergirl has never been a popular character, the movie itself doesn't look very good, the script, we now know, is weak, and the public is increasingly rejecting the idea of superheroes as time passes. They've had their moment, and it's fading. However, it definitely didn't help that Warner thought the movie would appeal to women while they built it entirely for men. I mean, there isn't even a generic girl power moment in the thing.